Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Journey to Becoming a Head Football Coach. I am Jeff Freeman, and today we're going to go over shield punt. So, with the shield punt, I put this in back in how long ago was it? Easily about 5 or 6 years ago. We were having issues with the conventional punt, how everyone's kind of foot to foot and kind of creating that little kickback and jab. We were having issues with that, and I started doing more and more research, and the shield punt just seemed like something we could do. We had a lot of athletes, we had a lot of linebacker, running back types, guys that could get down the field quick, guys that could tackle, safeties type style of guys. So we started looking into the shield punt, gets our athletes down there, and the excitement they had where it's like, okay, yeah, you don't have to sit there and block and take punishment for 3 seconds or wait for the kick. No, it's you're going to rip through a guy, and you're going to get down there, and you're going to get downfield, and you're going to prevent them from making a return. So it worked out really well. We didn't give up another punt return, and everywhere I've been since then, we have not given up a punt return. Have we had great punts? No. Have we made adjustments? Yes. But at the same time, we haven't given up one punt return since I started doing this system in over 5 years. Now, we've had to have some punts blocked, and that was due to when I took over as a JV head coach at a local high school. Our kids didn't quite understand it quite right, and we had some issues on some calls, and we had a couple block punts here and there. And especially with that shield, you got to coach up that shield really, really well, because if that shield is not coached up, it's going to leave some openings and some space. And then only that, your punter has to be very disciplined as well. We had some issues with our punter as well. They thought they knew more than we did, and they decided to get out from behind the shield, which causes a whole nother mess of issues when they think they can do that. You can do a rugby punt out of this. I'll show you a little bit of that. But at the same time, I'll just show you some shield punts and, of course, some fakes. Now, your most vulnerable gaps are going to be the B and C gaps, obviously, just based on where everybody is going to be at. So, sorry, I like to draw hash marks on when I draw a field. It's just something I tend to do as far as just being legitimate towards the just the markings. It just makes everything a lot easier. So so this is going to be your basic lineup. Again, these are going to be your most vulnerable gaps, are going to be your B and C gaps, because there's going to be a little bit wider than your A gap, and I'll tell you why that is. We're just trying to spread that defense out. It should take no more than about 2.1 seconds. We want our snapper at right around 1 second. So, and our punter is approximately 12 to 15 yards. When we've had really good punters and really good long snappers, 15 yards. Not so good long snappers, we've bumped them up to 12. The shield covers down the field after the ball is kicked. If no one pressures, then the shield should immediately begin coverage. Snapper is literally just going to snap and go. So in theory, if they don't bring anybody, when you snap and kick, we should have everybody going downfield. Now, our punter last year had some really good football IQ, and he noticed that when everybody took off, a couple times he took off and ran on like a 4th and 3 or even a 4th and 5 and got us an extra first down. Gave me a heart attack, made me want to chew him out, but at the same time, he got us a first down. So he had a really good IQ as far as seeing if everyone took off and no one was rushing, well, why would I kick it? Why wouldn't I just kind of move up, and then take off to wherever there was less coverage and less pressure? So he did a really good job on that and making good calls on that front. And now last year we did have to bump him up to 12. Our long snapper was not as good as the year before, so we did have to bump him up. So as far as the gaps are concerned, we go 2 yards, 2.5 to 3, and 3. So if you really look at it, it's about 6 feet split. It's about 7.5 to 8, and then right here we're 9. We're really wide out here. We really want to stretch out because we don't want these guys even thinking that they can get to the ball in time. If they're way out here and they got to take one heck of a hard angle outside of our shield to block that punt. So we want to make sure these guys are just basically out of the block entirely. Once the ball is snapped, middle shield steps into the middle here, and they get shoulder to shoulder. These guys are about 8 yards deep. So, and again, he's 12 to 15. So 15 makes it a little bit easier, so that way he's not going to step into them. they're at 12. We've had to make some adjustments where we change his punt style, or we move these guys up. We've moved them up as close as 6.5. We really don't want to move up any closer because now you create better angles for some of these guys in other gaps. So try really not to adjust that. So again, punter, we try to keep them at 14 to 15 yards. If we have to, we bump them up to 12. We'll move these guys up. If we do move them up, we did shrink the gaps a little bit. We still keep these guys at 2, but we might keep them at 2.5 or 2 themselves, and then shrink these guys down to 2.5, just to alleviate those angles and those wide spaces if we have to scoop them up. So just little things we've done. And again, your stress points are in here. This is where, if we're going to get blocked, that's actually when we had the 3 blocks that I had that JV year. That's where all the pressure came from, was right in those 2 gaps, because guys either A, forgot what calls to make, or B, like I said, our punter for some reason thought he knew better, and for some reason he would go that way when we didn't have a rugby punt call. So little confusion here and there. We were able to adjust some things, but again, so split guards are 2 yards, tackles and ends are 2.5 to 3. The shield guys' heels are at 8, just like we were talking about. The punters at 14 to 15. Left and right shield players, they apex the A gap. Now, what I've done also in the past is said their inside foot should be on the center's outside foot. So like his right foot's on the center's left, his left foot's on the center's right. I've squeezed them that down before. Otherwise, we have had them as wide as outside foot on the guard's inside foot. So we've played games with their alignment just to see what gives us the better shield look. But as a starting point, just apex them between that area just to make life easy. The punter's foot at contact with the ball must be right behind the middle shield at about 2 to 3 yards. So if these guys are at 8, he's at 15, so there's a nice 7-yard gap here. If he's at 12, there's about a 4-yard gap. But essentially, he needs to make contact approximately behind the middle shield. That's the idea, 2 to 3 yards when he takes his steps, 2 to 3 yards behind the middle shield. That's the goal, so that way that shield protects him as much as possible from anything coming up the middle, and it forces these guys to take an outside step, because if he's super far, then they can get that leverage. But if he gets up here, they have to get around the right or left shield and still make a block. So it just prevents a natural little pocket for the punter to be protected in. Now, as far as our count system is 4 or less on the line of scrimmage. The count starts with the first defender from the outside in. So 5 or more on the line of scrimmage, the count starts with the second defender from the outside in. So what that means is if there's only 4 or less, so let's just say there's 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, then we're going to start with that last defender. If they have 5, like let's just say they put 1 here, 1 here, we're going to say he's not going to make the block. We're going to say, screw this guy, he doesn't count. There's no way he's going to make it. And we're going to start with the second defender from the outside in. Because in concept, when we do our blocking schemes, this guy should not ever make the block. We have not had a block from these outside guys since I started running shield. We have not had a block from these guys. And these guys will become the option player when we run option. So, and that'll give you some guys to think about as far as some of our fakes. And option has worked out really well for us. Option pass is something that has worked out a couple times. We didn't get to run it last year, unfortunately. So only players on the line of scrimmage are going to be counted. Anyone off the line or in a stacked position, they're not going to be counted because, again, they're stacked, they're off the line. They're most likely either attacking the center or they're looking for any kind of fake. If they're off the line, chances are either they're going to be too deep to really make that. Because if they're 2 to 3 yards off and our punter's 15 yards back, they're anywhere between 17 to 20 yards away from our punter. Those guys are not going to make the play. We need to keep an eye on the guys that are, again, like I said, in the stress points, in that B and C gap, that are a lot closer and have the better angles on that. If 5 or more and the tackler end can't get to their man, they can make a fan call and the count starts back with 1. So left shield gives the count, cadence, and direction of the kick. So this guy is your quarterback. So he's your quarterback of the whole entire punt team. He's the guy that's going to make the decision. So as far as a basic, sorry, 1 second. So as far as a basic kind of like a 44 call for us, I'm going to give you the 2 basic calls that we do. We have a 44 call and a 55 call. So a 44 call is essentially if there's 4 guys on the line, we're saying again, he starts, so boom, we're counting him, 1, 2, 3, 4, we're gonna make a 44 call, even if, let's just say they only have 3 over here, we're still gonna make a 44 call. So what that means is everyone's gonna release inside, and we're not gonna block. If there was 2 guys out here, we're not gonna block these guys. We're gonna let them go. So all they're doing is they're reaching. It's almost like it's a rip technique if you're a defensive lineman. We call it a banana technique as well. You're just taking that outside arm, ripping through upfield on your way to your aiming point. So that is all they're doing is ripping inside. These guys step down. These guys try to come through. Again, they're not going to get there. So that's our basic 44 call. We're not going to block those guys. We're not going to block the last guys on the line of scrimmage. We're going to let them go. We're going to say they're not going to make it. And they haven't. Anytime we've called a 44 call, the outside guy has never made the block. Again, the blocks have always come from in here. Next one would be, obviously the opposite, would be a 55 call. And what the 55 call would be, again, would be if they have that stack where there's a lot more guys out here for whatever reason, they're trying to block on that side and they only got maybe 3 over here. Now, of course, when you look at this, there's 8. They might have 9, 10, or 11, but in any case, there's 9. And let's just say they have another guy here, that's 11. We're not going to block the 2 inside guys. That's our 55 call. We're going to release to the outside. Now, depending on how wide these guys are, they might be able to get there. Our ends might be, or they might not. So it could be something where they make a different call up on the line. We haven't had to get that crazy with the fan call or the switch call or anything like that. We might have to this year, but last year, literally, I think we called 44 like 99% of the time. We maybe called 55, 1%, and that was just because they wanted to try and block it, and they wanted to bring everybody, so they were bringing 10 against us, and they only had 1 guy back. So, but in essence, again, we're ripping outside to the first man outside of us. And again, we might get there, we might not. Kind of all depends as far as he might be able to get to that end, he might not. If they're not able to, again, they can make some different calls. They can play some games. And what I mean by that is if we're not blocking these 2 guys, depending on where these guys are lined up, we can play games where it's like, okay, well, if he's here, he's there, and he's there. All right, well, we can do this. We can essentially, if we're not going to block him, that's fine. We can reach as hard as we can, go out, and we can do a little switch call where he comes in around on that side and he comes in and around on that side. It's almost like a pin and pull kind of idea. We can do things like that to try to confuse these 5 and get a little bit of extra help, because again, the pressure comes from here more than anything. So we got to make sure we cover those gaps the most. And then again, our shield is literally just going to absorb those 2. So again, we make decisions on who we're going to block based on the count. And something I do, and I mean, some people might view this as a kind of exaggeratory, or not exaggeratory, kind of antagonistic. But when we make our call, how we let the center know we're ready is my middle shield might be like, all right, 44, 44, and let's see, for example, like our one of our league teams, their team's name is the Blazers. So some of you might view this as antagonistic. I don't. I just kind of view it as a way to get these guys ready, and also it might confuse them a little bit as why we're yelling out their mascot name. But just say, for example, he's going to go 44, 44, Blazers ready. So it lets them know, okay, call's been set, we're ready to go, and then we're going to snap it, we're going to go. And it changes every week. So every week we call out the mascot of the opposing team every week. Again, you might view that as being an antagonist. I view it as A, having some fun, and B, letting these guys know that, hey, we're done, we're ready to go, we're going to come after you. So that's just kind of how we view it. And I haven't had any issues as far as anyone being mad that we're calling out the other team's mascot. Again, I think it's fun. These guys enjoy it. And it also just kind of gives me an idea of, hey, how many Eagles and Panthers teams are out there, or how many Wolves or Timberwolves or anything like that, how many of those teams are out there. So kind of entertaining where one week I think we called the same call 3 weeks in a row because 3 teams had the same mascot name. So it is what it is. They enjoy it. Again, 44 call, 55 call. It's a really nice, easy base way to start. Again, as far as like a fan call, how you could do a fan call would be something where if they're like this, so you got 2 guys in the middle, we could call what would be a fan call, and everyone just blocks out. That would be a fan call, and that would happen up on the line. So he might call 55-55. These 3 guys are calling fan because on this side there's only one over here, and there's one there and one there. So they might be calling a fan call over here, but on this side it's a normal 55, and these guys are going. So that's kind of up to that side to really figure that out as far as what they're going to call on that. So fan call on that front, again, that kind of comes from the line. We haven't had to do that. We're going to look into making sure our players understand that they can call that if they need to. As far as like a swap call, and again, these are all little pieces that you can add in if you ever so choose to kind of need these calls. Again, we haven't had to call them yet, just because we've been okay with what we've been able to do. As far as 44 and 55 have worked out really well for us since we've taken over. Since I took over last year, haven't had to put a lot of these in. Kind of tinkered with them, but haven't had to do it yet. So how we would do a swap call is just essentially going, and again, to kind of confuse them and be able to kind of rip outside and get to a different lane for things of that nature. So as far as that is concerned. So again, just some different calls, give everyone some different outlooks and some different pieces. Okay, so now I know I kind of named these guys, you know, guards, tackles, and whatnot, but when we teach it out on the field, it's actually L3, L2, L1, R1, R2, R3. And our L3, they're 1 yard inside of the, on their running lanes, they're going to end up 1 yard inside the numbers when they take off. So he's going to end up 1 yard inside the numbers. So if the numbers were out here, he's going to release and end up 1 yard inside the numbers. That's his running lane. L2 is going to kind of stay 4 yards to outside the hash. So that's where he'll end up. L1 is 1 yard inside the left upright. So if this is the uprights right here. I know my drawings are amazing. You don't have to tell me that. So he ends up 1 yard inside the left upright. So he's going to end up in there, straight to the ball. As far as that's concerned, R1 is going to end up inside 1 yard of the right upright. R2 is going to basically be the opposite of here, so 4 yards outside the hash, and then obviously 1 yard inside the numbers. So that's our coverage lanes. And then as far as the left shield, they are going to get on the numbers. So then that way, again, as another outside contain guy, punter's the safety. The middle shield basically follows the center, and then the right safety also gets to the numbers. So we have everything covered as far as being able to get outside, and then our middle shield follows the center. Ideally, these 3/4, depending on how much pressure they bring, these 3 get down there the fastest. So these 3 have got to be your best tacklers and your fastest guys. These guys have to also be athletic, but at the same time, they're more trying to prevent any kind of return going to the outside. So again, that's from the middle of the field. From the hash, they're going to adjust ever so slightly, and sometimes over here we might play games with the alignment to kind of mess with kind of mess with the opposing team, obviously, just because we want to play games with them. We don't want them getting comfortable with what we're doing. So we might play with their alignment. We might actually bump him over here. Done that a couple times. I've also moved the middle shield over here. I'll show you that for our rugby punt. But as far as these ones, L3 is 3 yards from the sideline. So if these were what we call the ticks, he's going to release and be 3 yards inside of the sideline. L2 is going to be atop of the numbers. So let's just say the numbers are right here. He's going to release and be on the top of the numbers. Our L1 is midpoint numbers and hash. So right in the middle, apexing numbers and hash. Again, center is going to be right down the hash mark. R1 left upright. So again, if we're out over here, we'll just say the upright's right there. R1 is going to be the left upright. Again, just giving them aiming points for coverage lanes. R2 is going to be the right upright. R3 is going to be the far hash. So the other hash is over here. R3 is going to get on the far hash. And then our left shield is going to be the numbers. Middle shield is going to be hash to the side of the kick. So if we kick here, he's going to go to the side of the kick. But in any case, he's hashed to the side of the kick. And then right shield is going to be down the middle of the field, or we kind of tell him to go goalpost. And again, punter's the safety. So that's essentially from the hash. Now, I've been training our punter to kind of cough and corner it. So we have adjusted these to some degree. If we can't get a good rugby punt, or we don't think we can get a good rugby punt, then I am literally telling him to cough and corner that. And we change these guys' adjustments to where he's more on the numbers, he's more kind of inside the numbers. We still put him straight to the ball when we're doing that, and we put him on the hash, and we just kind of move everybody over one. So then that way we have more of a kind of a nice angled mesh going to the corner of the end zone. So we've made those adjustments just because we had a really good punter last year that could do that when he got the ball. So we were working on coffin corners. Never got to it, but we were working on it. And that was our adjustment for a coffin corner, was to still send him to the ball, adjust him more to the numbers, put him inside the numbers, and basically just move these guys over one adjustment. So he would be the hash, he would be the left upright, right upright, and then he would still be down the middle of the field for an extra contained guy. So that's how we adjusted that. So how we did our rugby punt, and then I'll get to our two main fakes that we run. So how we do our rugby punt. I just called it Cougar. It was kind of how we ran it at Casa. Our head coach, our rival, was Del Campo. They were the Cougars. So anytime we did any kind of special teams fake, or we did some crazy things, we would call it Cougar, just to mess with them. And I just kind of kept it that way, not because we play anyone that's called the Cougars, but just because it makes, I don't know why I just kept it. I can't even tell you why. I might change it this year. Who knows? But in any case, that's the way I've always left it. So one thing we do when we do rugby punt, and this kind of gives it away a little bit, but it sets us up for a fake that I'm working on. We take our middle shield and we put them right here. And our punter's right here. So again, we just change it. Splits go to 1 yard for everybody. So everything condenses, because again, we're trying to get to the edge. So sorry, I want to represent that a little bit more. And I kind of still drew them kind of wide, and I want to make sure you guys all understand that we're condensing them. So we go more towards, we condense everybody to 1 yard apiece, and the right side blocks gap down. Left side's gonna just kind of basically scoop block. Right shield takes first thing off the edge. Right shield takes everything off the edge, and our left shield's kind of looking to play cleanup, and our middle shield is making sure we get a nice set edge. So again, everyone to the side is just blocking down to basically make it as simple as possible. Our center is still going to take off, and then these guys are scoop blocking on the back end. So, and this guy's taking first threat. He's taking any threat that comes up from the center, and he is attacking the line of scrimmage. He's not going to punt until he feels threatened. So the idea is to not let them catch the ball in the air. So he's not going to punt until they feel threatened. So if these guys all take off, he might get 2 or 3 yards and when we get a new first down. So that kind of sets us up for that. As far as, again, I'm working on a little bit of a counter out of this. And I'll draw that up for you when I feel like I like it. Again, I've drawn it up a couple different ways. I don't know which one I like yet. But as far as going forward, this is our rugby punt. We've run this in the middle. We've run this on hashes. I'm also looking at a 2-punter system. We might have a left-footed punter, so putting 2 punters back here. So in that way we can call left rugby, right rugby. And then now the defense is really going to be stretched because we can run fakes at all that because we'd have 4 guys back here playing games. But again, we're still playing with that. But as far as a rugby punt's concerned, we've done it here. We have done it into the boundary as far as attacking, and kicking. Again, the idea is to not let them catch the ball in the air. We do this when we're doing this on the opponent's side of the field because I don't want him to kick a deep kick. So we may let him run, and then he tries to just kind of kick it over the top of the defense and get us some nice field position. So that's our rugby punt. As far as just the alignment and things of that nature. So again, real simple, real easy stuff. As far as our fakes go, and again, same thing kind of happens. They'll block down. This one, the only thing that does change, sorry, I don't know why I didn't cover that for you. The only thing that does change as these guys are going and as he attacks, when he does kick, that's when they take off. For the most part, they're just blocking down. As soon as he kicks it, then they go because he has that ability. If he sees that edge, he can go for it and try and get the first down. So again, we're trying to threaten that, and we want them to rush, so that way we can kick it over the top of them and play field position. If they don't rush, they're giving us a chance to get a free first down. So that's our thought process on that. Now our fakes, we got option pass out of these 2 formations, and nothing changes as far as the alignment. None of that changes. Everything looks the same. I don't want them thinking that just because we changed our alignment that now that all of a sudden means that we're going to now do something different. Everything stays the same. Now, we tend to option, obviously option's option. So we're going to option the last man line of scrimmage. So how we run our option, obviously last guy is our option guy. So how we do this is we've done this a couple different ways, but this is the way we like it so far. So obviously rules, block down. Everybody's just blocking down as hard as they can on anybody. Center's going to help with whatever threat. So if there's nobody in this gap, he's going to help seal and push him off. If there's somebody here, then he's going to do what normal centers do. He's going to block down. And then we're going to scoop backside. Because again, this guy should not make the play. No matter what, shouldn't make the play. So what's going to happen is the right shield's going to catch the ball. Middle shield's going to release, kind of like a back pivot. And then we're going to get into our option pitch relationship. And we're going to attack the line of scrimmage and put him in conflict. He plays the pitch, we're going to turn up and go. He plays the QB, we're going to pitch it and go. Punter, all he's doing is playing, left shield, all he's doing is playing cleanup, making sure nothing gets in from center to R3. Punter's releasing. Obviously setting us up for option pass, except for things do change when we run option pass. We've gotten first downs off of this. We've run it on 4th and 5, 4th and 6, got it on first downs. And obviously the opposite has happened as well, where we run on 4th and 2 and we get stopped. The big key is making sure this guy knows when to pitch and when to keep it. So if you got a backup quarterback, you got a backup running back that understands the option game, works out wonderfully. I have switched this guy in and out. Teams have not caught on to that. I have switched him in and out depending on who it is. If there's somebody I trust to pitch it versus I don't. I have worked on that, so I have tweaked that and nobody's caught on to it yet. So is it going to happen eventually? Probably. But that's when I come up with something else. So that's option. Option pass looks almost exactly the same. And we run option pass and we see what this guy's doing. We watch him with the punter. If he takes off with the punter, we know we can't run option pass yet. But if he bolts after we've punted 2 or 3 times he bolts, or they've scouted us and they know that we're going to run that option fake, and we notice we run option and he bolts that way, we know we got option pass because they think we're going to throw it to our punter every time. No, I'm not going to throw it to our punter. Unless our punter is actually a receiver, I'm not going to throw it to him. Sorry punters, but I'm not. So how we do this, it's going to look exactly like option. Exactly like option. Everyone's going to block down, we're going to scoop. When he comes hard or he takes off away, here's the key difference. He's going to catch it still. We're going to run option, except he's going to pitch it right away to our middle shield. So middle shield also has to, he definitely has to be a backup quarterback for you. He has to be able to throw the ball. Otherwise this will not work. After he pitches it right away, he goes to block first threat. Punter steps up to block first threat. Left shield takes off and goes. It is catch, 1-2. Give it enough air to give it over the top. Ran this at Casa, worked out beautifully. Did not get to run it last year simply because we did not have a quarterback style guy, but this has worked several times for me in the past. It is a great fake, and again, it feeds off of what we already do. It feeds off of option, it feeds off of our spread. It works out wonderfully. So again, and here's the thing, I don't care if my opposing teams see this because they still got to defend it. They either got to, I'm sorry, you're going to tell me this guy's going to figure out that he took off versus him. Good luck figuring that out. So, and good luck trusting that guy to figure out who took off and who didn't. So, and again, we might change it. If the punter's good enough to do it, we might throw it to him. But as of right now, I haven't had a punter that we can trust to throw and catch that ball. So that's why we end up doing it in this regard. So again, that's our shield punt. That's how we run it. That's how we do it. Again, if you got questions, comments, please put them down below. Hit that subscribe button. New videos, again, I'm trying to do 2 a week now. Just kind of up the content. Little update. Our season did get, unfortunately, suspended. Not because I wanted it to, but because the case-demic, and yes, again, if you want to crucify me on that, that's fine. The case-demic has taken over, and we were told that we can no longer practice. So we're out for the next 3 weeks. So content, again, I'm going to be able to continue to bring you content. Once we get into season though, which if we have a season will be right around for us, late January, early February. When that happens, most likely we'll drop down to probably 1 video per week, just because I'm going to be really focused on making sure I get things taken care of on and off the field. So again, I appreciate the love and support on social media, on this channel. I appreciate the love and support. I thank you all so very much. Be great, push the limits, hold the line, have a great day.